Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar conducted by Rapyder. I have a small slide deck, just will take 2 minutes to introduce the context. I hope the slide deck is visible. My name is Avinash Kulkarni, part of enterprise sales in Rapyder. So this webinar is in association with Amazon Web Services and also our esteemed customers who have used cloud as a service. So what is Rapyder? Rapyder is a core engineering organization born in the cloud. We work primarily on multi-cloud services, AWS, consulting services, managed services, people looking for migrating of their intellectual property rights, which is IP-based applications, SaaSification. They could work with Rapyder. We have a new practice team on analytics and data warehousing. Why housing finance? This is just a small deviation, I would say, but classically in many movies, it has been shown that Indian middle class strives to buy a home of their own. This is the biggest dream. So this is a landmark film, Veedu, in Tamil for other non-Tamil speaking audience. So how did housing finance evolve? So I think HDFC was the precursor. HUDCO was the first attempt made in India. Then HDFC was the first private housing finance company. And thereon we have seen quite a good progress in this segment with wide variety of housing finance companies and banking organizations providing a lot of solutions. So the dignitaries for today, or the speakers who will be helping me conduct this roundtable discussion, I welcome Mr. Sendil Kumar V, the CTO from Shriram Capital, Chennai. Srimati Nehal Mehta, she is a subject matter expert on financial services from AWS India. And, I welcome Mr. S. Rangarajan, who has served earlier as GMIT in Indian Bank. Currently, he is at another RBI's training institution called as Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology, IDRBT Hyderabad. Welcome, sir. Then I have Atreya Ramdas, my colleague and founder CTO of Rapyder. And I think during the course of the time, like as Mr. Shobit Sai has joined us on the panelist, we have invited, so the format here was that we will have various CXOs or heads of IT or heads of business joining us from different institutions like RBL Bank, South Indian Bank, DMA Housing Finance. We have confirmation from all these gentlemen. So Mr. Shobit, I welcome you also, sir, from PNB Housing Finance. So the flow is that I'll just, this is the initial overview which I have done, and the format is, it will be a roundtable discussion format, wherein this is not bigger speeches coming in from every speaker, but wherein we would like to trigger important discussions around, let's say, technology, which is cloud and analytics. Then it could be about improving customer experience, because a lot of home loan seekers or home loan account holders would like to see better services. And we could also welcome questions from other panelists to the key speakers. We'll have a short poll on 2 questions just to know the pulse of the audience. And then we could also take some questions from the audience who are in a muted section, but they could type their questions on the QA box as and when I introduce the time. Last maybe 10 minutes, we will give it to the Q&A session. So with that, I will ask each of the panelists or the key speakers, starting with Mr. V. Sendil Kumar, to just give a 1 or 2 minutes overview as to what their work is, what is their experience in using various technologies. Mr. Sendil Kumar.
Yeah, very good evening to everyone. I'm Sendil Kumar. I'm the CTO of Shriram Capital Limited. So Shriram Capital is the holding arm of Shriram Group companies, which are predominantly into finance and insurance. So finance, we are into truck financing, which is the flagship company. So we have Shriram City, Shriram Housing as the major 3 companies in finance. Then we have life insurance and general insurance. So we have our own data center, we have our own disaster recovery site, all those things, we manage it. So like a bank, we handle the application development as per the security standard, and also we ensure that the applications are delivered to the customers across. See, our asset under management is more than 1.2 lakh crores. So it's the total asset management which we handle for entire Shriram group. And particular to housing, we are having around 1 lakh plus customers, and we are growing there. As you rightly told in your introduction about the housing, so we are also having a vision that house for everyone, house for all is our vision.
Okay.
So that is the vision which we have in housing. So a lot of new technologies, everything we are bringing. And as a Shriram group, our core customers are all like the unserviced segment in the country, and also who are on the bottom of the pyramid are our major customers. It doesn't mean that others are not there, but when you think on truck financing, our USP is there to connect and make truck drivers as truck owners. That's our USP, and which we are achieving a lot. So due to this, the digital technology and everything, we are focusing in such a way that should reach to them. So that is the reason I was telling. So the digital, if we reach to the end of the pyramid, that's the bottom of the pyramid, then as a country and as a technology,
society, we evolve.
Proud that the technology, the digital has reached across all segments.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll go to Mr. Rangarajan now. Sir, just wanted a 1 or 2 minute overview of your work, or what is your capacity, how you advise other banks on technology.
Good evening. I retired from Indian Bank as General Manager of IT and Digital Banking in May 2020, after serving about 40 years, out of which 20 years as a General Banker and 20 years as in the Information Technology. I am also a technical advisor for IFTAS, the technology subsidiary of Reserve Bank of India.
Right.
And IDRBT is an organization established by Reserve Bank of India for the purpose of providing research and development in banking technology. We are also providing advisory for the other financial sectors also. So we are having multiple centers of excellence, including Center of Excellence for Cloud Computing. We are also providing technical advisory services to the banks and other non-banking financial companies. I am the SPARK for such a technical advisory of Indian Overseas Bank. And coming to the current status, the Union Finance Minister launched the EASE 4.0 at Mumbai on 25/8/2021. It's a reform agenda for banks and financial institutions aimed at institutionalizing clean and smart banking. This includes cloud-based IT systems. Banks and the financial sector, they have to fast track the migration of their IT system to the secure cloud-based solutions in line with the board-approved policies of the regulatory framework. So the digital transaction volume is increasing multifold.
By leaps and bounds.
For both the banks and other financial sectors, including the insurance and NBFCs. The rapid growth started post-demonetization and pushing up further due to the pandemic for the last 2 years. Even the budget 2022 gives more prominence,
more impetus
for 5G network and digitization. So emerging technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, edge computing, etc., will support the banks and the financial sectors for enhanced digitization of operations. So considering the volume of operation and regulatory requirements for security compliance, most of the banks and financial sectors are going towards cloud migration. So the cost of implementation is comparatively less in cloud services rather than on-prem implementations. So and moreover, the infrastructure scalability to meet the enhanced business operations is also very high and faster in the clouds. Almost all the cloud service providers are now compliant to the regulatory and the government guidelines on data localization, data leakage prevention, data security, data privacy. As DC and DR are in India, bank and financial institutions will be able to comply with the data localization guidelines. That is a major concern of the bankers and other financial institutions. So in order to capitalize the excellent market potential in India, all cloud service providers are now providing regulatory compliant services at an affordable cost. That is the most important thing. The mindset of the banks and financial sector and insurance are mostly implementing their new solution directly now in cloud and migrating slowly their existing solutions in phases. So
very interesting observations. We'll come back to you, sir.
Will be very smooth, and I wish the participants have to impress upon their board so that the shyness towards cloud migration will go.
They should not hesitate. They should, in fact, collaborate with cloud providers is your message.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Nehal, I would like you to give a brief overview of your work and what do you feel about housing finance segment?
Sure. So it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much, Avinash, for inviting me and to be in the esteemed, to be in the company of the esteemed panelists here. I started my career as a banker, spent more than a decade in banks in the country. So I've seen banking operations very closely. And after that, I've moved on to the technology side. So I've really, been dedicated to financial services sector customers throughout my career, right? As Mr. Ranga was saying, okay, today it's a question of when cloud and how cloud rather than if cloud, right? And in fact, Indian financial services sector customers are not behind the other advanced countries in terms of cloud adoption.
Sure.
Right here in India, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of these FSI customers, banks, insurance companies, payment companies, capital market entities who've actually already adopted on the path, already embarked on the path to adopting public cloud, right? So at AWS, I work with a lot of such customers in trying to address their business challenges and security and compliance concerns.
Great.
Housing finance is a very interesting topic. There is a latent demand for housing in a country like ours, which, despite there being thousands of NBFCs and so many housing finance specialist companies, the demand is yet to be met. So it's still a very active and upcoming sector with a scope for a lot of digitization. Though I would say a lot of NBFCs have already taken the leap there in terms of modernizing their technology architecture.
Great. So you resonate with the bottom of pyramid approach of certain companies like Shriram Capital, who is going to the underserved segments.
Absolutely. In fact, housing finance, or rather anything in our country, right, in terms of making sure that the financial services, including loans for their housing needs, is something that starts and ends with the rural areas, right? The tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 areas.
Right.
And thanks to the digitization efforts of our governments, successive governments, we see a lot of penetration of digital technologies even in the rural areas. A lot of the rural people today have moved from feature phones to smartphones. We do have a lot of villages with common village level kiosks, where internet is available properly. And with the 5G initiatives, that's all going to go up. And anything that keeps the end customer in mind is sure to be relevant and it's sure to grow.
Great. So Atreya, over to you, maybe a brief overview, 1-2 minute overview.
Thanks, Avinash. First of all, I welcome everybody for joining us here in this forum. It's fantastic to hear from industry experts on their experiences on how we are doing. This is Atreya. I come with over 14 years of experience in the field of IT, mainly a technologist, unlike industry experts here. But I think I have seen a lot of movement in the last 5 years on how this entire financial sector has adopted cloud overall, right? It's been a very different aspect, as Neha was telling. If cloud, how do I maintain things on cloud, to where banking has, our financial sector, housing finance, NBFCs have all started implementing cloud native applications across. So that's very heartening to see. I think it's very important that all of us here also understand and kind of appreciate the speed and the agility that cloud brings in, and at the same time make sure that we apply the best practices to make sure that it is secure as well. Rangarajan sir talked about data privacy and data security. Sendil sir talked about reaching all the segments. So both are possible when it comes to cloud. The reach is global, and also at the same time, we are very happy to have this kind of engagement going, and we are very happy to tell you also that we have been part of many PSCI DSS compliances, which we have helped our customers, which is also one of the main thing, and other security features as well, which cloud gives a better way of dealing some of these security things, although it will be better fine-grained control, which we will have to encourage customers to use. Typical thing was that cloud is not under my control is what people were thinking. I think slowly people have gotten to realize there is more fine-grained control in cloud rather than on-premise, which is all bugged into one firewall or one security appliance as part of it. So looking forward to hear from the experts. Avinash, over to you.
Yeah. Thanks. So I welcome Mr. Rajul Bhargava also to the panelists, Chief Business Officer, DMI Housing Finance. I think he's just logged in, and I will invite him to ask questions a little while later, Mr. Raju. I also welcome Mr. Abe Abram, GM Mortgages from South Indian Bank. He's also there in the panel. So maybe I'll first go to Mr. Sendil Kumar and ask him about his experiences of migrating to cloud. What are the preparations or challenges that a housing finance company like you faced during cloud migration?
Okay. See, from Shriram Group side, our intention is that we wanted to bring more digital in our business.
Okay.
That's the main intention for us. To bring digital into business, we want scalability, availability, then agility, which plays a major role for us. See, nowadays, there is a heavy competition of the business, especially in the finance side.
Right.
And especially on the housing finance also, there is a huge competition. So we should try to make in such a way that the technology is helping to reach and also to make business proper.
Okay.
So that side, for a housing company or any finance company, the turnaround time has to be reduced and the disbursement has to be proper. And third is that we should ensure that the NPA should be less. It doesn't mean that we should be agile or we should ensure that in 2 minutes time we should give the loan and finally it should not end up the NPA.
Right.
So reach in such a way that the quality of the customer also should be there. And similarly, we should not keep delaying in such a way that we should bring a lot of process in place.
Sure.
What we made is that as a business side, we are bringing, and also we made a lot of automation on the loan disbursements, like certain AI we have brought in, so that based on the account of the customer, his bank account, we can disburse the loan amount accordingly. Okay, so this artificial intelligence studies his spending pattern or saving pattern and is able to help. Okay. Exactly. So the AI we are using it to make in such a way that where we are giving a credit internally to our organizations. Right. Housing finance customer also can be a consumer finance customer, can be a truck financier, truck client. Right. So we are seeing that and we are giving ratings for them and we are seeing his past credentials and then it is making us ease in such a way bringing AI there. That is one thing. Right. So for these things and all, if we have an on-prem, right, it will be difficult for us because we don't know when the load is getting increased. Suddenly, predictability of the workload. Okay. Yeah, see, maybe few days or few months, it could be a period where there will be less in resources being utilized. And during month end and also financial year end or year end during the festival season, the load will get increased. So the intention for us is that to test and taste of cloud is what we were thinking a long time. Then we thought that why can't we do as a phased manner? So we went with images and all for our call center recordings, all those things we went through cloud. That was very good. And then we went with the test and development. Okay. That came a good. Then we wanted in our Shriram group companies, we selected one company that is Shriram Housing to move entire lock, stock, barrel to cloud. Okay. Then why we went with AWS is that very simple. So they gave a solution where in India they have a data center which has 3 locations in the same same city with a 100-kilometer radius. Okay. So what we thought is that why can't we remove the DR solution and have here itself where it will be a high availability across the data centers.
Right.
So that was a fantastic thing where we felt that, so why can't we try that? Then we came to know about Rapyder. So I can not in this forum, any forum, I can tell that the Rapyder team has helped us a lot by bringing a lot of awareness for us. Even though we were doing on cloud, the biggest thing what we learned from Rapyder is that on the process side. See, we have a data center team, we have application team, we have a user team also, UAT team also there. So we explained Rapyder how it is, and they gave a solution. And the regular meetings with these three teams, we called Rapyder also. They have given a lot of solutions, suggestions with the help of AWS. We don't know a lot of things before that. So we came to know S3, what is S3, where the images has to get stored. Then we came to know about your blog thing, where the next level of data, then FSX to have our core data. Those things and all was very new for us. Maybe that I can give another session also if needed. So,
Thank you so much for that.
So many learnings from both from Rapyder and also
and
from
AWS.
AWS, the team was there with us to make it. Now our entire housing finance application, let it be LOS, LMS, or our portal, everything is on cloud. And nothing is there in on-prem. Only thing is that one copy of data we are getting stored in our data center. So past 3 months, touch wood, it is quite comfortable and we are happy. And now we are thinking of moving other organizations also to
cloud. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I'll ask one question to Mr. Rangarajan. Sir, is there a way that early adopters or first time adoption of cloud, they should plan for, let's say, non-critical applications first and critical applications later, or vice versa? What is your advice to other banking organizations? So you're on mute, I think.
Yeah. I have seen. sorry. See, during the initial discussion itself, I had told. Cloud adoption is very aggressive among bankers because of the cost effectiveness, quicker implementation, scalability, availability of all technologies. CBS is the highest critical application.
Core banking.
In the first phase, core banking, CBS is core banking solution. That is a transaction banking.
Right.
So in the first phase, the banks are implementing the new solutions in the cloud because they have to get some amount of comfort. So slowly they are migrating their existing non-CBS application to the clouds. Once they get confidence, they will migrate even CBS also, because a lot of customers in interactions, so many things are involved. That is why they want to get confidence. Mainly the knowledge base with the cloud service provider is excellent, because I have practically seen in some cases. And creating similar knowledge base at the bank level is very time consuming as well as costly also.
Right.
So the capital cost on implementation of compliance and security solutions nowadays, particularly regulatory compliance, it is all very high. So definitely the banks, not only the complying with the regulatory guidelines, even the government is also pushing towards cloud migration. As I told you in the initial discussion, is 4.0, they want to push to cloud migration. The cloud service provider will be able to provide the same, whatever you are expecting at a cheaper cost, and implement in correct manner. Since they are doing for a large, main thing is they are doing for a larger section of the banks and the financial sector. Naturally, with the experience and the expertise, definitely they will be able to do it better. So in fact, as the IDRBT is providing the consultancy services for not only the commercial banks, even for the urban cooperative banks. Now the urban cooperative banks have also been brought under the RBI monitoring. So even for them also, in fact, at least the commercial banks, it is better because knowledge base is also good, and on-prem they are able to maintain because they can invest money on capital. Whereas in respect of UCBs, that is also another biggest challenge in the things. So definitely it is better, particularly these organizations, the housing finance and other things are comparatively smaller in size. definitely they have to migrate to the cloud. That is the biggest advantage they will be having.
Thank you, sir. Great inputs. Really appreciate.
Thank you.
So I'll just ask a question to maybe Nehal. So Nehal, how have other bankers or institutions taken advantage of AWS platform, especially in an area called as don't guess your capacity or don't maybe upfront invest in hardware and try to guess the capacity? Would you just narrate some?
Sure. So we've enabled many financial services institutions in India to transform themselves.
Yeah.
And our customers span banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, capital market entities, and fintechs. Especially in the lending space, we've had many customers, and my observation is that fintech startups and micro lending companies are giving a stiff competition to larger NBFCs, right? And that's because of their technology-driven, low-cost operating models and superior customer experiences. And many of those smaller entities have also announced expansion plans, and some have applied for NBFC, proper NBFC license, or some have gone up the value chain in the NBFC, right? And in terms of how they have leveraged AWS, 3 or 4 ways from a business standpoint. One is, of course, that they have been able to lower the turnaround time from weeks and days to few minutes. Okay, as a USP to attract new customers, they've been able to look at continuous risk assessment in terms of after disbursing the loan, how is the risk profile changing, etc. They've been able to also penetrate lower income group with much smaller ticket sizes at a very reasonable, manageable cost, because they are able to achieve high transaction volumes using AWS cloud, right? And entire digital journey makes your cost of processing one loan quite minimal. Also, another example is that they are actually effectively scaling up the business, okay, with minimal increase in IT costs, and that talks to your point on stopping, not having to guess the capacity, right?
Yeah.
So especially when you are in a growing phase, right, you actually can get hardware on the fly in a matter of minutes. You can basically get servers up and running. You can also pre-plan specific events such as, let's say, end of year or a festival time where you are expecting more loans, more consumer durable loans, for example, to be disbursed, or specifically around Akshaya Tritiya, you may find higher volumes in housing finance related activities. And with AWS cloud, customers have been able to really pay as they go, and stop having the guessing game completely, right? So you move from a capital expenditure to an operational expenditure, like CapEx to OpEx. But also, a lot of the IT teams' bandwidth gets freed up, okay, because the heavy lifting that is typically required for on-prem infrastructure is not there when you move to public cloud. So a lot of the IT bandwidth gets freed up. They get free to think about more innovative use cases and product innovations. Okay, and cloud also makes that very feasible and plausible.
Great. Thanks, Nehal. Atreya, so we at Rapyder have been helping, I think, a wide variety of organizations, fintechs, health techs, SMBs, large enterprises. So is there a difference between how a startup adopts to cloud and how they experience cloud, and the difference in large enterprises?
Yeah, so Avinash, as you rightly told, right, we have helped small fintechs deploy cloud also. They'll be technically advanced. They'll be starting off on cloud directly. They may not have any presence because cloud gives them that capability to start off with the technical folks there, and they'll start with MVP and then try to, as Nehal indicated, they'll try to go up the value chain to become a better NBFC as a later point, right? That is a different journey altogether. So they want to first make sure that they are in the industry, they are making the difference count. And also once they reach certain thing, that's when they think about processes, how compliance comes into the play, because RBI also comes into the play only when you reach certain level of lending or the business turnover that you are planning to do. So we have seen that customers of that startup nature or fintech perspective start small. They are more tech focused and they want to do everything on a serverless kind of model so that their the overall expenditure is as less as possible and TCO is as minimal as possible. I think that's where their scalability comes into the play by default, but processes come in as a second step. But one thing I've seen with respect to the established companies like Shriram, for example, or Neogrowth or any other NBFCs for that matter, they will have set processes in place already. Sendil sir talked about how their teams are already know what compliances, what security things needs to be put in place. Now, for them, the challenge is different. So they'll have to move from data center mindset to the cloud mindset. And there is a little bit of learning curve there. So that's where we work with the customers, understand what is their requirement as far as their application is concerned. What are they moving to cloud for? Understand their need for moving to cloud. For some, it might be scalability because they are seeing in the way it is getting scaled. For some, it might be their end of life as for refresh. And also, as Sandil sir indicated, they might have to look at enhancing their tech landscape to give better visibility into the AI and ML kind of opportunities, which cloud enables by default with some ready offerings like SageMaker and things like that. So in those cases, we prioritize them, work with the customer with their journey, understand what is their long-term plan, create a foundation. That is very important because typically what happens, customers think that cloud is like, you can get it up in minutes and you're ready to go for it. Right. But it is very important to set the base properly based on what is the long-term vision. And we work with the customers to understand what their vision is, put a plan accordingly, and then work with them on their journey to move to cloud. Security plays a very important role. As I touched upon, it is more fine-grained than on-prem, which people fail to understand on a first basis. But given it is done well, it is much more fine-grained control that we can achieve on the cloud. That's how we help customers.
Okay, great. Mr. Shobit Sai, can I ask a question to you? Are you there?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So just wanted to know from your experiences as to what is the outlay of, let's say, new technologies being used at PNB Housing Finance, or what are your plans? Do you want to ask any questions to the others?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the opportunity, Avinash.
Yeah.
And thank you, entire team at Rapyder, for organizing this conference. I think the way technology is moving is very much to cloud. I think in the last 20 years, the way we have seen technology move is at a breakneck speed, and the acceleration has been immense, towards adopting new technologies. I think as we speak, more and more fintech companies have come to the forefront of the entire chain for the entire value chain, and they're adding value to the existing and the larger finance companies. As a matter of fact, to the entire financial segment. And more and more banks, more and more lending organizations, in fact the entire FSI is now sort of using some services or the other from these cloud native fintech companies. There are companies like Karza, and all, who are doing fantastic job in terms of giving fintech services which are helping companies like us give more and more to help us better underwrite our customers in terms of and they're speeding up the entire decisioning process. So in a way, I think all fintech, all existing organizations have also started leveraging the cloud, if not directly, indirectly, with these fintech players.
Okay. So can you quote an example, Shobit, one process or one example where fintech helps you hasten the process or improve customer experience?
I think there's a lot of process, areas where we do leverage cloud-based fintech services. Primarily with respect to the underwriting efficiency. These are things like video KYC, which are cloud-based. These are things like document management systems. Then there are email verification systems, domain verification systems for customers. Then there are bank statement analysis, which would traditionally take somebody, let's say you're doing you're doing a home loan for a customer who's a self-employed customer, his bank statement would typically run into hundreds and thousands of pages.
Right.
And doing a manual assessment of this entire bank statement would have taken an underwriter ages to to even draw a conclusion.
Right.
And
Right.
you would have missed some critical information which would never surfaced. But with solutions like these, which are sort of plug and play solutions for business like ours, this has become much faster and much more efficient than ever before.
Okay.
While I think we've started leveraging these technologies, but the one question that still remains for most of the financial companies is that the core systems, like Mr. Rangarajan also mentioned, the core systems are still not there, on cloud. And the way I see one of the major reasons for that is that these are not cloud native solutions.
Right.
These solutions were not built for the cloud. They were built for an on-prem setup. They were built for a 3-tier architecture.
Right.
Even if you do a lift and shift, you would not be truly leveraging the cloud, or you would not be truly benefiting out of moving moving to cloud, and you would just it would just be a shift. But
Right.
the real issue is when these critical core business applications like the LOS, like the LMS, like the core banking solutions, unless these solutions become cloud native solutions and offer the same sort of security that businesses expect with an on-prem solution, is when truly the cloud adoption will begin.
Right. So maybe a question to Nehal. So Nehal, if applications are not cloud ready, or what are the ways to address this, or what are the ways organizations can prepare for themselves?
Yeah, so I think Shobit, you made some really valid points, right? So a lot of these fintech startups that you mentioned, right, Karsa or let's say a WorkCaps or a Credit Vidya, a lot of these are basically born and brought up on AWS cloud, and they are providing a lot of these due diligence services to the larger financial services institutions in the country. And it is actually very true that a lift and shift of a legacy architecture is not going to really get you the true benefit of cloud. So if you look at the cloud economics, right, and AWS has more than 200 services which cut across infrastructure as a service or platform as a service and software as a service, right? So when you do a lift and shift migration, you are essentially using only compute and storage. So your cost benefit will be X, okay, which will be small. When you start to modernize after that, okay, and adopting more of platform services, more of managed services, your cost benefits will increase. On top of that, you will also have a lot of agility and innovation related capabilities. And the work that and many larger customers, for example, like we have a lot of larger traditional NBFCs like Aditya Birla or Bajaj Group or Godrej, etc., who actually adopted AWS for setting up completely digital subsidiaries, right? Digital lending subsidiaries. So if you look at this, the approach that the bigger financial institutions can take is to align with their own business goals. If you want to really look at, let's say, a particular part, let's say if it's only origination, servicing, collection, or you want to look at claims or underwriting, right, or last mile connectivity for collections, you have to align your cloud adoption through that. So it's not necessary that you will only do migration first. You could actually start with an innovation use case, or you could start with a serverless data lake use case and help yourself with decisioning. And as far as the independent software vendor ecosystem in the country goes, so we work with both the traditional independent software vendors as well as the cloud native, born in the cloud kind of a core lending solution providers. So we have quite a few of them. If you look at the traditional ones, like let's say, for example, Nucleus, they are also a partner. So a FinOne, which is an on-prem version, they have a FinOne Neo, which is an AWS cloud native certified version, right? And on the other hand, there are a lot of cloud native ISVs, which basically provide you end-to-end digital lending, including core transaction processing on AWS cloud. Either you want to deploy that in your AWS account, or you want to take it as a SaaS service. So we have SaaSified cloud native core lending solution providers as partners in our ecosystem. And a lot of the larger institutions who have basically set up digital lending subsidiaries For example, 100% cloud native setup for lending on AWS have utilized some of those ISV partners of ours, right? So it's a mix and match. Obviously, when you want to launch a new business on a completely 100% digital mode, you want to ensure that you save on time to market. You don't want to build something that's available. So you will take these cloud native partners. You can take, they are available right here in India. And then you can build like an analytics ecosystem around it, because that will help you really scale up and grow your business faster.
Great. Thanks, Nehal. So, Mr. Sendil, you spoke about NPAs or non-performing assets. So, what is the current RBI directive, or let's say, what are the challenges in addressing non-performing assets? Is there a role for technology like analytics to help there?
Yeah, obviously, as I was telling that, no, the analytics while disbursing the amount, the loan amount, plays a major role.
Okay.
So two things, as I was telling that, one is that based on the internal customer with our cross-selling and upscaling,
Right.
that is helping us a lot based on, because we have multiple group companies based on that. So we get the customer base and see that how credibility are there based on the previous loan. So these things cannot be done through manually. It has to be automated. So based on the year, how his remittance was and how he could take it on time, the loan, and how he has taken some child loan or further loans and all are there. So based on that, we see them, and there are certain incentives which we give them. So these things and all, we mark them as a credit for them, and we give priority for them. So in this scenario, no, the NPA is coming down. Okay. And as I was telling that, while disbursing itself, we are having the his statements to be there. In this statement, we have a tool to identify how is his bank statement credibility. Based on that also, we do that. So now the customer, we selecting the customer is having a lot of options to select. Right. So that is a major thing where as a customer experience where we have to do that. See, customer now has a lot of expectations from the organizations like us. Okay. See, suppose when as I was telling, the truck drivers or persons who are in the bottom of pyramid, when he wants to have an unserviced segment, which again I want to tell that should be a very 2 clicks or 3 clicks, the loan has to be processed, and 2 clicks he has to pay the amount. And the applications normally, organizations like us, where we are a traditional finance company, we have a strong legacy where the applications also will be like that. It's like a monolithic application. It is not so easy for us to change the each and every screens or like that. So we are doing as a phased manner. See, one is that lift and shift to use on cloud, and having run is that, okay, we know how a cloud service is that, what are the benefits on the infrastructure as a service. Next level, what we are currently doing is that we are doing a microservices where in such a way that we are making the application thin, and also know the visibility or the screen appearance should be such a way that it should be catchy. And suppose he wants to have a loan, he need not type the loan, just he has to scroll what amount he want, and then he has to do how many years he need that, and finally, he will click. Just 2 or 3 clicks, it has to be made for him to make ease so that he is applying the loan. And second is that on the, when a contact center reaches them, most of the time, it will be difficult to communicate with them. When we get something, it will get disconnected or like that. So when the customer tries and it get disconnected also, we should try to reach. When these applications are on cloud, we have a lot of cloud native tools inbuilt. Those tools and all, if we add it, the things will be faster. Second is that there are a lot of partners applications which are on cloud where we can have their tools also, and we can integrate with ours so that the API, APKs and all can be hassle free, so that things can do it. Whereas if we are having an on-prem, that will be really a big challenge. So we are on the way, and currently a lot of things we are doing in a phased manner. Few things has been come out very well.
Okay.
Where we are doing some improvements. So again, I'm telling the turnaround time for disbursement and the collection efficiency, if we are doing it, is nothing like that. Further,
Right.
definitely cloud is needed, AI is needed, and
Right.
data, pure data or a quality data should be there. So when
Sure.
the data, if is not available, or if there is the integrity of the data is not proper, no, then it will be a big challenge for us to give a proper MIS reports, and it will be a big problem. So the tools and technology really plays for business, Avinash.
Great, sir. Great inputs. So we can take some questions from attendees, people who are in the chat mode. Maybe you could use the Q&A box, which you see in the bottom of your panel. If you have questions, please type it there. I'll ask on your behalf to the panelists, and we can get some. We have 15 minutes for taking questions. Maybe we could fit in 3 or 4 questions. So attendees can type in the Q&A box that will pop up here. I'll pose that question. As we get those questions, so maybe a question to Atreya. Sir was saying that partner applications, and so the ecosystem demands that we integrate core applications, cloud, and let's say partner applications, which are maybe the channel distribution partners, technology partners. So what is the security framework you would advise? I mean, on the cloud, does it go up, there's a threat level, or come down?
No, I think the partner framework, I think everybody is moving to this REST-based APIs right now. As Senthil sir indicated, some of these third-party networks that we are talking to, or the third-party software that these applications talk to, also will be hosted on a service-based model, right? The entire thing is moving to a service-based model. So in those perspectives, there are mechanisms where either they whitelist the IPs, or they will go with a dedicated VPN channel through which they will expose their services. In which case, everything is possible on the cloud, depending on what is the interface that we are putting on the cloud. If it is AWS native, we can go for a site-to-site VPN. Or if it is firewall, which we have implemented on the cloud side, then we can attack that firewall itself from our firewall to their firewall. We can have a secure channel built in. So there is no issues as far as security is concerned, Avinash. There are a lot of banks who are having end-to-end HTTPS, that is SSL-enabled channels on both sides built in. So which will make it very easy for all of the things. So incidentally, we were talking to a company yesterday who signs off the digital signatures and other things. So that has also become as an API, as a service there, right? So everybody wants to move from a product mindset to a service mindset. Everybody has moved to a pay-as-you-go kind of model, which is all metering. So it is fairly straightforward.
Great. Shobit, do you have a question for our speakers?
Yeah, in fact, I was wondering, like Mr. Senthil said, that they have moved their entire suite of core applications, including LOS, LMS, and their core business applications with respect to the housing finance business that they have. I was wondering, how was the journey? What was the initial challenge that they saw? How, what was their application that they were using? How did they modernize it to, and make it cloud ready? If you could throw some lights on it, it will be great for us.
Yeah, see here, the application is in-house application. We from Shriram Group, we have our own applications which got developed. So the thing what we wanted here to use is that, we wanted initially to go as a IaaS only. We want to lift and shift only is what we have planned initially. So I was telling that this is a small company comparing to other companies in Shriram Group. We wanted to ensure that the application has to be smooth, and based on this, we wanted to use other applications. So the same application only we moved that, but it was not so easy like moving like lift and shift. We wanted to reduce the infrastructure. So we were having around 35 servers totally. That has come to 12 servers. So that was a very good improvement for us on the infrastructure. And second is that the processing time of each and every tools what we have, when it was on cloud, it was easy for us to integrate between each and every application. That was two. And third is that the biggest benefit which I was telling is that we were having two data centers. So it was like both were having the identical setup. So certain period, 3 months, 4 months will be running in one location, and then after 3 months we will move there. So we wanted to have a strong DC DR in place, BCP in place. So this we felt that, okay, for 1 year, only 6 months, we will be using one data center. Why we need to invest? So here we are moved in such a way that 3 data centers are getting connected, and we are using the high availability even on the database also. So here my RPO and RTO has gone down like anything. And again, on the microservices, we are fine tuning. So one is that recently we have developed a mobile application, which is just an initial phase. Still we are customizing it. And the portals where we can take a loan directly from the portal. So these things and all, we have done it. And on the application modernization, we are currently changing the architecture in such a way that we wanted to use the latest tools to deploy it.
Right, sir. So Shobit, I hope it answered your question. You can even pose another question. We have time.
I think you very nicely elaborated and explained that how the entire journey has been. And I think that's and that's how it has to be. It can't just be lifted. Eventually, the applications have to be modernized, made cloud ready. And that's the way forward.
Thanks.
So no questions yet from the attendees. So maybe what is the way cross-sell and upsell happens, sir, in home loan? I mean, this is to both maybe Shobit and Sendil. When I say cross-sell and upsell, we see that maybe one loan product is sold to one account holder. Normally, there's no attempt to reach him again to look if he has other loan needs. Or is it different?
If I may answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
So home loans is, of course, the key business for all housing finance companies.
Yeah.
But having said that, that's not the only line of business that we do. There are various other offerings that we give our customers as a value-added offering. We do a cross-sell insurance policy for our customers. We also do cross-selling with credit card companies. We have collaboration with them. We have collaboration with we do keep collaborating with. In fact, a couple of years back, we did launch an offer in collaboration with Honda, wherein we were offering top-up loans for our customers, where they could buy a Honda car loan from PNB Housing. So a top-up loan is one of the other cross-sell initiatives that we do. Then we are one of the few HFCs in the country who have also been allowed by the NHB and the RBI to do a deposit business. So we do also give our customers deposits. We do give them loan on deposits, and these are various other line of products that we have for our customers. And then there are various schemes and offers that keep coming in as and when these things have. While these have been traditionally on direct one-to-one integration, I think I think there's no aggregator in terms of giving these services to the BFSI industry as an aggregated platform. So I think that could be one of the great use cases for the cloud.
Sure. So one question from the attendee is that is there a experience of, maybe this question can be taken by Nehal, robotic process automation or blockchain? Is that also seen in, let's say, housing finance segment? Is there any case study for that? I think you're on mute, Nehal.
Sorry, I can see the question, AI, big data, RPA, right? Blockchain. So essentially AI, big data, RPA are already in place in the Indian NBFC segment.
Sure.
And if you, I think, our panelists on this panel itself have spoken about the different use cases. Like Shobit talked
Yeah,
about how
yeah.
they are leveraging startups who actually give that as a service. So for example, the entire lending business or the banking business is very document centric. So AI can be can very easily automate reading or analysis of those documents. For example, bank statements, financial reports, etc. Right, and the speed at which an AI engine or a machine learning algorithm can process documents as compared to an on-prem OCR tool or as compared to a real human, it's far, far better. We've got banks and NBFCs in the country today who are running machine learning center of excellence and have leveraged different AI services for, let's say, doing video KYC. And in video KYC, you can also determine whether you are a real person at the end of that screen or not, at the other side of that screen, or are you just a facade? You can do liveness checks. You can do a lot of those checking. Robotic process automation is also very relevant. It's not yet, what shall I say? There are solution providers, but the approach that NBFCs and banks have taken is to basically launch end-to-end digital journeys as a build approach on top of cloud, using a low-code, no-code platform or using their own in-house skills. We do have robotic process automation solution providers, and quite a few number of banks in the country have adopted those for, let's say, processes like account opening or processes like a loan disbursement or a credit card issuance, etc. Blockchain as an individual customer, no, but at an ecosystem level, blockchain does have a role to play in this. But though there are some other geos in the countries where that's been put into practice, but not so much in India as yet.
Sure. Maybe when we have the digital rupee approved, we could see more blockchain.
Absolutely. So the entire payment ecosystem will basically get an upheaval there.
True. Yeah.
If I can just add to that, so I think blockchain is being used by quite a few government authorities where the land records are being digitized.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's one of the great use cases that where the digital the land records are being digitized for for people like us to use. So one of the big hurdles for a housing finance industry as on date is the fact that you may automate everything, but you can't automate a customer getting his home registration done. So if you have to do a home registry, you still have to go to the registrar office. You still have to do a technical verification. You still have to do a physical verification of the property, because these are things that these are records which are not digitized as in as of now in this country.
Right.
You still have Khatra, Khatoni, and those sort of addresses going on.
Right.
In the land records, and you can't, and it is really impossible as of now to digitize that process. However, if I'm not mistaken, there are some states down south which have now started using blockchain to digitize their land records.
That's true.
Right.
That's a welcome move
Telangana is
from the industry.
That's right.
And I'm looking forward, to the day when the land records get digitized. It'll be a huge boon for the entire housing sector in this country. That's one. And as far as looking at the other two areas which were probably in the question, were AI and RPA. So I think not all financial segment or industry companies would have the technology teams to sort of do these things in-house. It is not necessary for you to sort of do everything on your own. You may sort of get outsourcing these functions to the people who are good at it. For example, a very relevant example given by Nehal was which I also quoted was the fact that the bank statement analysis. And the kind of analysis that you get out of bank statements these days from these fintech companies is fantastic. It's not just a summary. It's more than that. They would give you a behavior analysis. They would give you the spending patterns. These are not static inputs. These are driven by various AI engines at the back. And the more and more that these technologies are growing, and the more these fintech companies were giving services to the larger companies, in the Indian segment, I think this is an ecosystem which is evolving, wherein both these companies are going to benefit. It's not that one or with the other without, so the one without the other cannot survive, and both of them are working in conjunction and helping each other become, faster and bigger and better, and being more efficient in terms of their customer services.
True.
With respect to robotic process automation, I think we leverage a lot of robotic process automation for our backend jobs.
Okay.
And I think it brings a lot of efficiency. Things which would require manual data entry on, for regulatory and compliance requirements, or various other data entries that need to be done are now being taken care of by RPA bots that have been built, and there are huge use cases for it even today and going forward.
Thanks, Shobit. Great inputs. So we are at the top of the hour, and I think best is to conclude it. We have finished exactly 60 minutes of very fruitful and interesting engagement with the end users like Shriram Capital. I thanks Mr. Sendil Kumar a lot for the great inputs. It matters a lot to us, sir. Thanks for the positive indication of AWS and Rapyder. Thanks to Nehal Mehta for her great inputs on the entire wide spectrum of the industry adoption of cloud. Thanks, Shobit. Shobit is from PNB Housing Finance. So thanks, Shobit, for your inputs. And I thank Atreya for his views on cloud security and adoption frameworks.
Welcome, Avinash.
Thanks to all attendees from various organizations. I think we missed Mr. Rajul. Rajul had joined briefly from DMI Finance. I think he went away. We tried to get him back, but couldn't happen. Maybe we'll speak to him later. So thanks everyone. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining with Rapyder today evening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Avinash, for being a lovely host. Pleasure meeting everyone.
Pleasure.
Yeah, me too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sindhu. Thanks, Avinash. Bye.